Imagine it's a cold morning. Just an ordinary day in November, 1872, New York. You wake up, get dressed, walk to the polling station. You know the law says you can't vote. But you go anyway. Because you believe voting isn't a privilege, it's a right. You're a woman. And your name is Susan Brownell Anthony. Susan wasn't just an activist. She was a force, a voice, a storm in a quiet room. In the 19th century, women in America had almost no legal rights. They couldn't vote, couldn't own property, and often couldn't even raise their own children after a divorce. Susan didn't just know this, she lived it. She grew up in a Quaker family, raised on the belief all people are equal, and that includes you. By 1872, Susan B. Anthony had been fighting for women's rights for over 20 years. She spoke at rallies, wrote articles, debated politicians and preachers. People called her crazy, dangerous, a threat to the natural order. But that year, she made a bold move. She walked into a polling station and voted. Not in secret, not alone. She brought other women with her and demanded a ballot. And they gave her one. She voted. And a few days later, she was arrested. At her trial, she wasn't even allowed to speak in her own defense. The judge declared her guilty before the jury could say a word. She was fined $100, about $2,500 in today's money. And she said, "I shall never pay $1 of your unjust penalty. I am not a criminal. I am a citizen. And I voted." And she never paid. After that, Susan became a symbol of resistance. She didn't stop speaking. She didn't back down. She didn't fade away. Until the end of her life, she kept writing, organizing, inspiring thousands of women to step out of the shadows and claim their place in society. She died in 1906. Women didn't win the right to vote until 1920. 14 years later, in 1979, her face was printed on a U.S. coin. Susan B. Anthony became the first real woman ever featured on American currency. And now the question is for you. Would you dare to break the law, just to cast a vote? Would you risk your freedom for a future you might never live to see? Susan B. Anthony did. And she changed history.